Narrated by Ibn Jurayj, Ya'la bin Muslim and Amr bin Dinar, and some others narrated the narration of Sa'id bin Jubair. Narrated Sa'id, while we were at the house of Ibn Abbas said, "Ask me any question." I said, "O Abu Abbas, may Allah let me be sacrificed for you. There is a man at Kufa who is a storyteller called Nauf, who claims that he, Al-Qadar's companion, is not Moses of Bani Israel. As for Amr, he said to me," Ibn Abbas said, "Nauf, the enemy of Allah, told a lie. But Ya'la said to me," Ibn Abbas said, "Ubay bin Ka'b said, Allah's messenger peace be upon him said, once Moses, Allah's messenger peace be upon him, preached to the people till their eyes shed tears and their hearts became tender, whereupon he finished his sermon. Then a man came to Moses and asked, O Allah's messenger peace be upon him, is there anyone on the earth who is more learned than you? Moses replied, No. So Allah admonished him, Moses, for he did not ascribe all knowledge to Allah. It was said, on behalf of Allah, yes, there is a slave of ours who knows more than you. Moses said, O my Lord, where is he? Allah said, at the junction of the two seas. Moses said, O my Lord, tell me of a sign whereby I will recognize the place. Amr said to me, Allah said, that place will be where the fish will leave you. Ya'la said to me, Allah said, to Moses, take a dead fish, and your goal will be, the place where it will become alive. So Moses took a fish and put it in a basket and said to his boy servant, I don't want to trouble you, except that you should inform me as soon as this fish leaves you. He said, to Moses, you have not demanded too much. And that is as mentioned by Allah, and, remember, when Moses said to his boy servant. Surah 18 verse 60. Yusha bin Nu'un. Sa'id did not state that. The Prophet peace be upon him said, while the attendant was in the shade of the rock at a wet place, the fish slipped out alive, while Moses was sleeping. His attendant said, to himself, I will not wake him, but when he woke up, he forgot to tell him the fish slipped out and entered the sea. Allah stopped the flow of the sea where the fish was, so that its trace looked as if it was made on a rock. Amr, forming a hole with his two thumbs and index fingers, said to me, like this, as in its trace was made on a rock. Moses said, we have suffered much fatigue on this journey of ours. This was not narrated by Sa'id. Then they returned back and found Al-Qadr. Uthman bin Abi Sulayman said to me, they found him, on a green carpet in the middle of the sea. Al-Qadr was covered with his garment with one end under his feet and the other end under his head. When Moses greeted, he uncovered his face and said astonishingly, is there such a greeting in my land? Who are you? Moses said, I am Moses. Al-Qadr said, are you the Moses of Bani Israel? Moses said, yes. Al-Qadr said, what do you want? Moses said, I came to you so that you may teach me of the truth which you were taught. Al-Qadr said, is it not sufficient for you that the Torah is in your hands and the divine inspiration comes to you, O Moses? Verily, I have a knowledge that you ought not learn, and you have a knowledge which I ought not learn. At that time a bird took with its beak some water from the sea. Al-Qadr then said, by Allah, my knowledge and your knowledge besides Allah's knowledge is like what this bird has taken with its beak from the sea. Until, when they went on board the boat, Surah 18 verse 71. They found a small boat which used to carry the people from the seaside to the other seaside. The crew recognized Al-Qadr and said, the pious slave of Allah. We said to Sa'id, was that Qadr? He said, yes. The boatmen said, we will not get him on board with fare. Al-Khadir scuttled the boat and then plugged the hole with a piece of wood. Moses said, "Have you scuttled it in order to drown these people? Surely, you have done a dreadful thing." Surah 18 verse 71. Mujahid said. Moses said so protestingly. Al-Khadir said, "Didn't I say that you can have no patience with me?" Surah 18 verse 72. The first inquiry of Moses was done because of forgetfulness, the second caused him to be bound with a stipulation, and the third was done intentionally. Moses said, "Call me not to account for what I forgot, and be not hard upon me for my affair with you." Surah 18 verse 73. Then they found a boy and Al-Khadir killed him. Yalla said, Sa'id said they found boys playing and Al-Khadir got hold of a handsome infidel boy, laid him down and then slew him with knife. Moses said, "Have you killed an innocent soul who has killed nobody?" Surah 18 verse 74. Then they proceeded and found a wall which was on the point of falling down, and Al-Khadir set it up straight. Sa'id moved his hand thus and said Al-Khadir raised his hand and the wall became straight. Yalla said, "I think Sa'id said, Al-Khadir touched the wall with his hand and it became straight." Moses said to Al-Khadir, "If you had wished, you could have taken wages for it." Sa'id said, "Wages that we might had eaten." And there was a king in furor, ahead of them, Surah 18 verse 79. And there was in front of them. Ibn Abbas recited, "In front of them was a king." It is said on the authority of somebody other than Sa'id that the king was Hudad bin Budad. They say that the boy was called Hijr, a king who seized every ship by force. Surah 18 verse 79. So I wished that if that boat passed by him, he would leave it because of its defect, and when they have passed they would repair it and get benefit from it. Some people said that they closed that hole with a bottle, and some said with tar. His parents were believers, and he, the boy, was a non-believer, and we, Khadir, feared lest he would oppress them by obstinate rebellion and disbelief. Surah 18 verse 80. That their love for him would urge them to follow him in his religion, so we, Khadir, desired that their Lord should change him for them for one better in righteousness and near to mercy. Surah 18 verse 81. This was in reply to Moses saying, "Have you killed an innocent person?" Surah 18 verse 74. Near to mercy means they will be more merciful to him than they were to the former whom Khadir had killed. Other than Sa'id, said that they were compensated with a girl. Daud bin Abi Asim said on the authority of more than one that this next child was a girl. Narrated by Sa'id bin Jubair, I said to Ibn Abbas, Naf al-Bakali claims that Moses of Bani Israel was not Moses, the companion of Al-Khadir. Ibn Abbas said, Allah's enemy tells a lie. Ubay bin Ka'b narrated to us that Allah's messenger peace be upon him said, Moses got up to deliver a sermon before Bani Israel and he was asked, who is the most learned person among the people? Moses replied, I am the most learned. Allah then admonished Moses, for he did not ascribe all knowledge to Allah only. Then came the divine inspiration, yes, one of our slaves at the junction of the two seas is more learned than you. Moses said, O my Lord, how can meet him? Allah said, take a fish in a basket and wherever the fish is lost, follow it, you will find him at that place. So Moses set out along with his attendant Yusha bin Nun, and they carried with them a fish till they reached a rock and rested there. Moses put his head down and slept. Sufyan, a sub-narrator, said that somebody other than Amor said, at the rock there was a water spring called Al-Hayat and none came in touch with its water but became alive. So some of the water of that spring fell over that fish, so it moved and slipped out of the basket and entered the sea. When Moses woke up, he asked his attendant, bring our early meal, Surah 18 verse 62. The narrator added, Moses did not suffer from fatigue except after he had passed the place he had been ordered to observe. His attendant Yusha bin Nun said to him, "Do you remember what happened when we betook ourselves to the rock?" "I did indeed forget about the fish." Surah 18 verse 63. The narrator added, "So they came back, retracing their steps, and then they found in the sea, the way of the fish looking like a tunnel. So there was an astonishing event for his attendant, and there was tunnel for the fish. When they reached the rock, they found a man covered with a garment. Moses greeted him. The man said astonishingly, 'Is there any such greeting in your land?' Moses said, 'I am Moses.' The man said, 'Moses of Bani Israel?' Moses said, 'Yes,' and added, 'May I follow you so that you teach me something of the knowledge which you have been taught?' Surah 18 verse 66. Al-Qadr said to him, 'O Moses, you have something of Allah's knowledge which Allah has taught you and which I do not know, and I have something of Allah's knowledge which Allah has taught me and which you do not know.' Moses said, 'But I will follow you.' Al-Qadr said, 'Then if you follow me, ask me no question about anything until I myself speak to you concerning it.' Surah 18 verse 70. After that both of them proceeded along the seashore. There passed by them a boat whose crew recognized Al-Qadr, and received them on board free of charge. So they both got on board. A sparrow came and sat on the edge of the boat and dipped its beak unto the sea. Al-Qadr said to Moses, 'My knowledge and your knowledge and all the creation's knowledge compared to Allah's knowledge is not more than the water taken by this sparrow's beak.' Then Moses was startled by Al-Qadr's action of taking an adze and scuttling the boat with it. Moses said to him, 'These people gave us a free lift, but you intentionally scuttled their boat so as to drown them. You have certainly done a terrible thing.' Surah 18 verse 71. Then they both proceeded and found a boy playing with other boys. Al-Qadr took hold of him by the head and cut it off. Moses said to him, 'Have you killed an innocent soul who has killed nobody? Surely you have done an illegal thing.' Surah 18 verse 74. He answered, 'Did I not tell you that you cannot have patience with me?' Moses replied, 'If I ever question you about anything after this, then do not keep me in your company, for by then I would have given you enough of an excuse.' So they moved on until they came to the people of a town. They asked them for food, but the people refused to give them hospitality. There they found a wall ready to collapse, so the man set it right. Moses protested, 'If you wanted, you could have demanded a fee for this.' Surah 18 verse 75 to 77. Al-Qadr moved his hand thus and set it upright, repaired it. Moses said to him, 'When we entered this town, they neither gave us hospitality nor fed us. If you had wished, you could have taken wages for it.' Al-Qadr said, 'This is the parting between you and me. I will tell you the interpretation of those things about which you were unable to hold patience.' Surah 18 verse 78. Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, said, 'We wished that Moses could have been more patient so that he, Allah, could have described to us more about their story.' Ibn Abbas used to recite, 'And in front, ahead, of them there was a king who used to seize every serviceable boat by force.' Surah 18 verse 79, and as for the boy, he was a disbeliever. Narrated by Muzab. I asked my father, was the verse, say, O Muhammad, shall we tell you the greatest losers in respect of their deeds? Surah 18 verse 103. Revealed regarding Al-Hururiyah. He said, no, but regarding the Jews and the Christians, for the Jews disbelieved Muhammad and the Christians disbelieved in paradise and say that there are neither meals nor drinks therein. Al-Hururiyah are those people who break their pledge to Allah after they have confirmed that they will fulfill it, And Sad used to call them al-Fasiqin, evildoers who forsake Allah's obedience. Narrated by Abu Hurairah. Allah's Messenger peace be upon him said, on the day of resurrection, a huge fat man will come who will not weigh the weight of the wing of a mosquito in Allah's sight, and then the Prophet peace be upon him added, we shall not give them any weight on the day of resurrection, Surah 18 verse 105. Narrated by Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. Allah's Messenger peace be upon him said, on the day of resurrection death will be brought forward in the shape of a black and white ram. Then a call maker will call, O people of paradise. Thereupon they will stretch their necks and look carefully. The caller will say, do you know this? They will say, yes, this is death. By then all of them will have seen it. Then it will be announced again, O people of hell. They will stretch their necks and look carefully. The caller will say, do you know this? They will say, yes, this is death. And by then all of them will have seen it. Then that ram, will be slaughtered, and the caller will say, O people of paradise. Eternity for you and no death, O people of hell. Eternity for you and no death. Then the Prophet recited, and warned them of the day of distress when the case has been decided, while, now, they are in a state of carelessness, the people of the world, and they do not believe. Surah 19 verse 39.